So, first presentation is team building and icebreakers.
This is me.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine is quite simple. I just took the idea from Murph when she said that she would like to get to know everyone a bit better. So I just Googled some fun ways to do team building and icebreakers over Zoom. So yeah, these are some of the best ideas that I came across.
Oh,
Let's go to the next slide. Sorry. So this one is quite interesting. The first one is a peek into each other's homes or share a picture of your working space. Just because I love going to different people's houses and it gives you such a good sense of who they are and their personality and everything. Like Murph, I imagine yours, like your home's full of like records and things like that because of your boyfriend. And Josie, I can just imagine there's plants everywhere.
You've been to my house. You don't need to imagine it.
This one was quite cute. It was like a virtual happy hour. So maybe instead of a Friday morning meeting, doing a Friday afternoon meeting and each having like a glass of wine together around the world.
I love that.
And then a desert island scenario. So just asking each other, if you're stranded on a desert island, what objects would you take? And then the 2 truths, 1 lie game. Those are always fun. I don't know if anyone has heard of these, just stop me. And then weekly trivia, we did this a lot as a family during lockdown, and it was actually so much fun. We would like each take a turn to do a little quiz night and host the quiz night. So whether I like choose sports or something for the week and ask everyone a question, and it just creates a good laugh when you need a really good laugh after a stressful week. And then solve a problem together, which we've been kind of liking when we've been doing our marketing consultations, just because they've all been so different. So I thought that was we have kind of done that. Theme dress-up days, quite cute. Josie and I did that at varsity for our copywriting class. We had like a dress-up every month, and it was quite fun. And then it could be quite nice to share a recipe a month.
Yes.
I feel like Josie's going to discuss with that one.
I love that. These are fun ideas, Kim. I love them.
Yeah, so whether we we choose a recipe and we all try and make it every month, and we send pictures to each other, and it's like having a book club but a recipe month.
I really love that. I think that's so fun. I love them all.
Let me go to the next one. And then I thought it'd be nice to start each week with a new question to ask each other. So on the next slide, I won't tell you to go there now, but I'd like to design a little card, and I can always do one for every Monday, and we start each Monday meeting or Friday meeting, since it's a little bit more fun, with a question just to get to know each other. So are you a morning person or night owl? Which season is your favorite and why? Do you like writing digitally or on pen or paper? Yeah, there's a whole bunch of questions there.
That could go nicely on the Dawdling Digital Instagram as like a starting off the week to ask followers thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Giving people tips, like if they're working remotely as well, like get to know your colleagues with these questions or something.
Oh, that's so fun.
I love the last question. If you were a YouTube sensation, what would it be for?
Josie would be plants. I keep saying Josie needs to open her plants TikTok. You could be like the Cape Town plant mom. You already have a handle.
There we go.
Yeah, Kim, I love these. I think it'd be really cool if you made a little card for each one. We can have a discussion about each week. Really cute.
So the next slide, you'll see it. Just a little today's topic.
Cute.
That's super cute. This could also be fun for all of the other people who are working with remote teams. And like, I know a lot of people have new hires during this time also, and they're all working remotely and never meet each other. And this is something that we could that could also be of use for them. So we could post this on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
That'd be very cool.
Yeah, such a great idea. I love it.
And this was just like
Well,
with all the with all the
So-
all the with all the articles I read, there was like a common theme of like what makes a really good like a strong team over Zoom. And then I was like, actually, Sol, you do all of this, so I just thought I'd say well done to you. So it was like had weekly meetings, like 2 to 3 times a week, which we do, to celebrate and capture the company moments every month, to have a joint calendar, to send gifts to team members, which you do, it's so nice, and to have a random Slack channel. And actually, people always refer to it as a random Slack channel,
really?
where you just share memes and funny jokes or just personal stories, and then just having an overall check on your team's mental health. So well done, Sol.
Yeah, man.
Aw, thank you so much, Kim. Honored. That's so sweet. I really love it. I love all the ideas, and I'm really excited to put them into use. I think we should start with the team happy hour. Okay, so next we have listen and never stop listening. I love the topic
So
already.
that's me. It's quite a short presentation because I haven't had that much time to get deeper, but I did mine on this book that I've
Oh, did you
had
lose
for a
you?
couple of months and I haven't gotten the time to read it. But, can you hear me?
Yes, I love that you got that book.
Okay.
That's my favorite.
Oh, is it?
Yes,
I got it.
likable.
It's a New York Times and USA Today bestseller, so I thought it must be good.
Yes, he answers
go
if
to-
you post him on, if you tag him on Instagram, he answers.
Yeah, so he also, there's like you can send him a DM personally. I can share it on the team channel. There's a bunch of details here where he's like, contact me if you want help. His name's Dave Kirpin. He's awesome
Yeah,
so
He's
far.
awesome. I love him.
So you can go to the next. So he starts the book by talking about what social media can't do, and this is a lot of the time when you go onto online blogs and stuff, and this kind of goes against those those things, not because they aren't 100% wrong. I mean, they aren't 100% wrong, but it's the time that goes into it. So it's not going to make up for a bad product or a bad company or brand, regardless of how good your social team is and whatever. If your company isn't treating the consumers the right way and your product isn't meeting its promises, social media can't fix that. It's not going to lead to overnight success. So unless you are one of the lucky few who managed to go viral, which viral is like this term that everyone tries to bring into social media campaigns, and it's actually something that is very hard to plan, a viral something. It's almost by chance that you go viral. And we have to kind of break the idea that social media is going to make you a success in 24 hours. And social is not free. You might use the platform for free, but the time that you're going to put into it is much more, it's valuable. So you are going to have to put the hours in to do engagement, do promotions if that's the case, but there's lots of ways that you're going to have to put time and effort in that make social media actually costly. Well, not costly, it's still a cheaper form of marketing, but definitely not free.
Good point.
Next slide. So if we look at these kind of posts from, there's these are two, that's Holly from Geordie Shore on the left. That's a social media influencer. The right is a USA-based influencer, and the other is a brand. And these kind of posts where people are speaking out is that tells us that people want to be heard. This book, he refers to social media as the world's biggest cocktail party, and everyone is out there trying to tell everyone about themselves, to be heard, to express themselves, and it's the one place that people can do this openly. Obviously, there's a chance that they have backlash from it, but people are using social media as a way to express themselves. And your job as a marketer and a brand is to listen to the way that they're expressing, and then how do you react to it. So after this, there are a couple of just like discussion points that I've put in. So everyone loves to be heard. In literally like the first pages, Dave, in this book, it talks about his experience, and I'm sure you guys have heard this story before, but he was standing in the queue. He went to Las Vegas, I think, and he was standing in the queue at the Aria hotel, and it was taken for him just to check into. No Las Vegas hotel is worth this wait. And the Rio, I think I'm pronouncing these names all right, but the Rio responded, which is another hotel, and instead of saying there's no queue at our place, they responded and said, I'm so sorry about your experience, I hope you enjoy the rest of your stay in Las Vegas. And that was the way that they were able to turn social media into like a return on investment. And he then, now every time he goes to Las Vegas, he checks in there and has referred it to a bunch of friends. And this comment and conversation that he's had, because then he commented back and gave a great review after staying it, and they ended up getting so many referrals from his incredible experience. And the difference that he says is they didn't increase his frustration by trying to sell their hotel. And empathy is such a big thing in social media that people ignore. You have to be empathetic and think about what you would feel in that situation and how to respond in an empathetic way. So why does it matter to listen? Monitoring, people often say like we're going to monitor social media, but monitoring is more of like watching data and analytics and kind of responding to the way that the stats are showing on social media, whereas listening is coming from a human perspective, and like I said, with that empathy that's so important. And another thing is social media honest? And this is like a question for you guys, is do you feel that social media is an honest platform? Do you think that people are speaking honestly about brands and about themselves, and do you think that that's a truthful reflection of themselves?
I think it's kind of similar to the real world where not everyone's honest.
These people. So if you're listening,
sorry, go ahead, Josie.
So like as a brand, if you are listening to people and you're trying to adapt and change, because a part of listening is how you respond and make people feel heard. How do you know what's real and what's not, and how do you respond to the honest side of social media, as opposed to changing brands for things that aren't necessarily a real reflection of what's happening?
I think I generally tend to take what brands say at face value, because I mean they are kind of held accountable by the quality of their product. I think the one avenue of social media that I find quite dishonest is quite a lot of influencer marketing, because it's a lot of people being paid to personally endorse products that are sending them money that they don't necessarily believe in. And because the whole thing of social media and being a fan of someone is that even though they're selling themselves as a product, you tend to think of the influencer as an individual and your friend. And I think it can be a little bit dishonest the way that a lot of them handle brand deals, because they genuinely don't care about the product, but the facade they've built will have like thousands of kids wanting to buy it, you know?
I feel like it's almost like a news channel. You have to follow the ones that you trust in and that you know are being honest. Like I know one influencer who's a great example of this is Jenna Kutcher, and she always stays like really true to the fact that she only works with brands that she really believes in and that she really trusts and really would recommend to a friend. But I think now there are also so many like influencers who are just taking any brand that wants to work with them and then promoting it even if they don't truly believe in it.
For me, the one that bothered me the most was when the Kardashians started selling that flat tummy tea, which is literally just a laxative. And like, they have a million personal trainers and a whole bunch of plastic surgery, but they were telling all these teenage girls to like buy an expensive laxative to lose weight. And that, like, I don't know, that genuinely upset me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, cool. But I do think
And
one thing
then-
about social media is it exposes whatever you put out there to the entire world. So it's more difficult for a brand to really lie, because then you can see Coca-Cola is a great example of this. I don't know if they started posting again, but last time I checked, they hadn't posted in a long time. And we started looking into their comments, and all of their comments were attacks of them saying like that they're polluting, that they're doing bad things, that they're doing sketchy things. So they're really getting called out.
What I don't like about social media is that if there's a problem, people are so quick to say, will go and write on their Facebook wall or whatever on their page to say like the service was so bad. On Friday evening, I had like a really bad experience at this place that I went to, and like the group of friends I was with, I booked the table, so they were like, you must go onto their social media page and like give them flack for this. But I said, it's not going to really help. They're just going to say, sorry. Just because I've gone on their wall and publicly humiliated them kind of thing. I should be able to just go to them in person to say this was bad, and they should be able to apologize just like that. It doesn't have to be over social media, because they should want to apologize no matter what.
Yeah, I think it also lends itself for a lot of hate speech, because people will say things that they wouldn't say in person. But as soon as you're writing on someone's Facebook wall, it's depersonalized, so you don't feel that kind of barrier that you would feel saying mean things to someone in person.
Yeah. Cool. I think we covered the other two discussion points, so you can go on.
Okay. Next one is working from home.
Yeah. So this job was my first ever job working remotely. Like, I've always been in very busy office spaces and around lots of people, and I don't know, it's a very different experience. So I kind of wanted to just take a look at ways to like optimize time and prevent burnout, and do a little bit of research mainly for myself to like make sure that I'm doing this okay. So yeah, I figured I'd share just a couple of tips. I've read a whole bunch of articles and compiled some of the important points.
This is awesome.
So the first important one, you can go to the next slide here. First important one is the maintenance of regular hours. So I know that like can be a little bit of a problem if you're working with clients in a different time zone who respond to different things. So if you like working an 8 to 5, then a clearly delineated hours will help maintain a work-life balance. So like Josie working from 9 to 5 every day, like that works like that. But I know that with Sol and I, we kind of tend to work a bit more flexibly. So everywhere kind of said that if you super overwork one day, then you must compensate by sleeping in a little bit and going for a longer walk the next day. So don't just keep packing on the dense days. And then I found this cool app for desktop called Rescue Time. And especially if you do tend to not work in a solid block, it's a time tracking app that like tracks everything that you do during the day on your computer, organizes it into like different categories of what you're doing, and also shows you your most productive hours after about a week of using it. So it can tell you on which day when you're getting the most stuff done, and if you are a night person, when in the night that works, and when is the most productive for what. And I know we all really love what we do, so we tend to have a bit of a proclivity to overwork. So I think if you struggle with that, this Rescue Time app might be really cool to show you when you should be doing what and how long you should be spending logged in.
I love that. And I think also on maintaining regular work hours, it's important to have a smaller window, because if you just allow yourself to say you work all day and all night, what you have to do will kind of expand itself automatically. It's not conscious, but it just expands itself to take up all the time that you allow it. Whereas if you tell yourself you have a smaller window, I think you're able to like pack things into that smaller window also. But I love that this tracks your productivity. This is very interesting.
Yeah, so if you guys want to give that a go, I think it might be cool to like compare data at some point and see if it's accurate, because it could be really helpful to like allow us to actually just chill sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's important. And I also need to do on my part, bringing down our workload. I told myself this morning, no new projects. But hopefully that should
Cool.
help.
So the second thing that I found was this creating a morning routine thing. And like a lot of my old jobs, it used to be like I had to pitch up in full suits or formal wear and full makeup. And I've never really been able to like get out of bed and come straight to work. But the whole process of getting dressed up in work clothing and sorting that out was kind of a ritual to get my mind into the rhythm of working. So
Yeah.
a lot of websites recommend that you create a series of morning tasks. So whether it's breakfast or sitting down to write a to-do list as you wake up, or setting the waist every morning, or getting dressed and doing your makeup every morning. Or it can be like what I do, which is I wake up and I water my plants and I have a cup of coffee, and then I feel like I'm more ready to take on the day. And then a cool tip that I saw was that if you're a person who uses alarms for productivity like I do, trying to keep your work up alarm and your work alarm and your wake up alarm as different sounds, so that you can associate that sound with waking up, sleeping in bed, and another sound with a productive space.
That's cool.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Cool.
I'm a serious morning routine person. Like I have to have my routine.
What's
It really
your morning
does help.
routine?
Like, I go to gym at like I wake up for gym at 5:15, and I'm there from 6 to 7, and then I
5?
come home, have coffee. Yeah, I wake up at
5
5.
in the
Yeah.
morning.
It's getting easier now because the sun is up early, so it's like helps. But in winter, it's a real struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if I'm not sitting down in front of my computer by like 7:30, 8, I'm grumpy for the day because I know that I've messed up my morning routine somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a solid routine. I love it.
Cool. And then there's the next slide. So I don't have to adhere to this too much because I live by myself. But for people who stay with other people, it's important to set ground rules with the people that are in your workspace. So if you're living with anybody else, you need to be able to schedule to them, this is work time and this is personal time. So you can do that by telling it to them. You can do it with certain visual cues, like if you tie a tie to the door, then it's work time and you mustn't be bothered. And that way it means that your brain doesn't have to mentally be in both a personal, familial space and a workspace at one time, because it can organize, it can be in a very like scattered and demanding space for you to be in. You also need to be able to set boundaries with the people that you live with regards to noise making, appropriate behavior in terms of interacting with you. And if it's possible and your space is large enough, you should endeavor to clearly delineate your workspace and your leisure space. So you're not sitting in your lounge where you unwind at the end of the day working, but rather at a kitchen table where you don't spend that much leisure time. Because if you have your workspace in your leisure space, you're constantly going to feel switched on. And it's much better to be able to step into somewhere and put on your work hat rather than having to adapt those subconscious cues.
Yeah, I think that one's really, really important. And it's so important when you're working from home that you have some kind of way to ensure that when you're done working, you feel like you're unwinding.
So the scheduling and enforcing breaks thing is something that I am not good at, because if as soon as I take a break, I start feeling like I'm not being productive, and I start feeling guilty, and then I'm like, okay, go work. So I did a bit of research, and the standard USA break times per one full work day are a 60-minute lunch break and 2 15-minute coffee breaks in the day. Those are apparently the, so an hour and a half or about an hour in some cases in the course of a standard US full-time workday. And so I found 2 apps, because I don't know who's on Windows and who's on Mac, but the 2 apps that can help you actually take breaks when you're working from home, they're called Time Out for Mac and Smart Break for Windows. And what you can do is you can program them for a certain amount of time, and they will just solidly lock you out of all of your devices. So if you're like, I literally
my
need
gosh.
to get away from
That's what I'm saying.
That honestly has already made my anxiety shoot through the roof.
and it's you can obviously still like keep your phone not involved in it, but if you have been working for like a solid 8 hours and you keep just going back to your computer and running in circles, putting this app on for like half an hour and forcing yourself to go like walk around outside is apparently a big productivity booster. This is just workspaces and leisure spaces being a little bit delineated. And then this is something that I've also needed to try and enforce. It's that you need to start moving around on your breaks if it's possible. So even if it's just walking around the building that you're in, or walking to the corner on your 15-minute break. Like, I know I smoke, so when I have breaks, like, I'll go sit in my garden and have a cigarette. And basically just sunlight and conversation even passes by is going to emulate a bit more of that typical office feeling, and you won't end up spending like 4 days in a row completely by yourself, you know?
I love that. And there are so many of these that I want to comment on. First, you just said sunlight. Sunlight is so important, especially if you can get it in the morning. It helps your body like understand that it's time to wake up, and like it just does so much for your health. Then also with putting your like time out things and like that, I completely support that. And then with lunch breaks, I know Josie's schedule, so I'm always telling Josie, like, I hope you're taking a lunch break, like you need to take your lunch. But with you guys, Kim and Murph, I don't really know what's going on, so I don't like remind you to take your breaks. But I just want everyone to know that breaks are very much encouraged, and I think they're very important. And if you're ever going to do like considering like locking this, like that's totally fine for me. If you know, when you don't receive any notifications for a long time, like I think it's really important to have that break time. So these are all good things and very much encouraged.
The shutdown thing makes me so nervous though, because what if you're working on something that's like something that needed to be done 10 minutes ago, and then it's like you have to stop for 15 minutes now, and just shuts you out.
I think you can, you don't have to set it for a certain time of the day. You can like say, okay, I want the 15-minute break now. So you don't say at like 1 o'clock every day this happens. You can go in and say, okay, I want the break. Yeah.
I'm just like I can see myself having a small breakdown as this thing shuts me out of my computer.
Another thing you can use if you have an iPhone is bedtime. And I think that's a really good one. Once it becomes like your bedtime, which it could be like 10 p.m., it just locks all of your apps. But if you want to get back into them, you just put in your passcode, and it will ask you, and it asks you how long you want to unlock it for. So it could just be 1 minute or 15 minutes. And it also shuts down so that you don't get notifications unless you go in and look in the app. Then you can see what you got, but it wouldn't ever notify you that you got something. And I think that's really good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And then, so yeah, Kim actually went over a whole bunch of this. So the first two, you've pretty much covered. There's another, so the third thing that I found that I thought was quite a cool suggestion in terms of like team building and whatever is to create either a shared playlist on Spotify that we can all contribute to, or podcast suggestions. So we'll sit down and come up with like, what are all our common interests? What podcast suits it? And then at some point during the week, while we're working, each of us will listen to the podcast. So that on the Friday we can be like, hey, did you hear the thing? That's really cool. And this is how it links to all of us, sort of thing. So it gives us a point of common departure, and it's quite cool to share that weekly podcast with a group of people because it's fun to get into something together.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Actually, the Spotify one. Well, I love them all, but I think we should definitely start a Spotify playlist.
And then the last slide is just over communication, because I've never really worked in an environment where I had to do the majority of my communication via text. It's always been like inflection of voice, the getaway tone. And basically due to a lack of visible progress, it's important to keep everyone updated on stuff. So not just kind of plonking away at your own thing. Like once you've finished an important task or done something for someone and uploaded it to Asana for them, messaging them like, hi there, I'm done. So it's also important to share your schedule, availability, and flexibility. So if you are going to be away for a few hours, people can't see that you're not at your computer. So you just need to be like, hey guys, I'm popping out now and then. I think we're very good at that. And it was cool that Kim like told us about the wisdoms now in this public settings that we all know, and so that there's no like, hey guys, Kim's not replying to my messages. So it's also informing your whole team when important tasks or projects are finished. So like you don't have to update everyone all the time, but if you finished a big thing, the person that you're working with, just shoot them a quick reminder like, hey, this is finished, because it's easy to miss a notification from like an Asana or like an email. But in Slack, if you just directly say, hey, I'm done here, everybody can move on to the next steps, which is useful. So, and then you can just go to the next slide, which is just this with more text on it. And then just the last thing that I think we're all very good at, but it's just important to bear in mind. A lot of the time when you're trying to be efficient and you're very busy, it's easy to type things that can come across as short or unkind. And it's just, even if it seems overly positive, just bearing in mind that tone doesn't convey over text as well, and to always keep just upbeat in messaging, because in a time when everyone's stressed, it's easy to misinterpret it.
Yeah, that's a good one. And for me, I think my messages are sometimes short when I'm multitasking or in a hurry or like answering from my phone. So I've said this a few times, but I just want to remind everyone that my tone, even if like it's short or everything, it never should be coming off as negative, I hope.
No, not at all.
But that's such a good reminder, Murph, and I really appreciate that. Maybe more use of emojis is good too.
I also think that as a team, we good at communicating issues and giving honest, like productive feedback, which I appreciate a lot. So I think if something does come across a bit short and it isn't directly a feedback or something like that, that you can assume it's just because they're busy and it's not because they're angry or want you to change something or are unhappy with the work. I think everyone here feels confident enough to openly say, I think you should change that or whatever. And obviously we only virtually know each other, but I feel like I have got to know everyone well. And I think that no one here is going to try and be unnecessarily mean, basically.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. I can't imagine anything mean coming out of any of us. Cool. I really, really love these tips, Murph. Thank you so much. I really love also that we had such a theme of like team building and working from home wellness and things like that. It's really, really nice. And I think these are also things we need to remind each other of, especially the working from home wellness. And if anyone comes up with like new ideas or something that like works for you, maybe you had a really good routine this morning, share it with us so that we can learn a little bit from what's working from you.
Sure.
Yeah,
Awesome.
awesome. Thank you.
I think so. Next week, so now that we have this rotation with everyone, next week will be implementation week for this. So maybe we should pick a team building thing that we can implement as a group for next week's weekly activity.
Yeah, maybe we can put 3 ideas and we vote on them with reactions to each message. Whichever one gets the most reactions, we do.
Right.
Or we could each suggest one. So let's each suggest a team building activity and then each vote.
Sounds
Sure.
good.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, ladies.